I'm Jenny and I organise the Neonatal Charity Ball with Lindsay.
I first got involved with the organisation of last year's charity ball. It was something I quite wanted to get involved with, having had my son on the unit 2.5 years ago now.
This year's our 5th year, so I've been doing it for 5 years, since Annie was born in 2008.
As a parent, I think you, having been through the experience, you know how important it is, the little things that make a difference for you. And you feel so grateful for all of the support and help that you've had during the time on the unit that I really wanted to give something back.
After having Annie, we had Annie in March, and in the summer I just had an idea that I wanted to go to a ball. We were sat around having dinner with friends and looked for a ball to go to, couldn't find one, and so I thought I would organise my own and do it for charity for the neonatal units, because having had 2 premature babies on the unit, it was a cause that was really close to our hearts, and we really wanted to give something back to support other families that were going through the same thing that we'd been through, and to say thank you to the doctors and nurses for literally saving our babies' lives.
We're always amazed every year, especially when times are quite difficult for businesses, that people are still generous with their donations, and it feels like it's a cause that people really want to get behind, especially with it being a local charity.
So it's not just the big things that are important like equipment, it's the little things as well, like tea bags, books to read for parents, people to volunteer to go and spend some time with them, chat with the parents that are on the unit at the time, so that they feel that they've got a bit of a break from the unit.
Very quickly the reality sort of soon hits you of actually what it's like to have a premature baby. Initially, I think we thought the doctors were perhaps quite negative and not really very cheery, because they didn't appear to have very good news for us whenever we went down, and I think we soon found out that's because there actually wasn't an awful lot of good news in those first few days. So we had a very rocky time, probably for the first sort of 3 days. After that he seemed to pick up a little bit. Then he came down with quite a bad tummy infection, which really just knocked him for 6. And he unfortunately had to have surgery as a result of that. So overall he was in the neonatal unit for about 3 months, about 2 months in sitting, about a month at the Queen's Medical Centre.
Annie was born at 35 weeks gestation, which actually, as premature babies go, is pretty good, and we thought we'd be having her that day and everything would be fine, in a couple of days we'd be going home. But unfortunately that wasn't the case. Actually, she was really poorly. It was really touch and go.
I think it's a very difficult environment for a parent to be in, just to spend all day next to your baby in an incubator is quite hard, and especially you do feel quite helpless, and that you don't feel like you can make an awful lot of difference, and just having those spaces where you can just be able to just have a little bit of time out away from the incubator and just sit down in comfortable surroundings.
So at home now we have a fairly normal family life, and I could never have imagined that it would be that way when I think back to how it was when both of them were born, and they were so poorly, so fragile, and just remembering back to the unit what it was like, the beeps of the monitors when I visit the unit, it's quite an eerie kind of sound, and all the wires that were keeping them alive. And every day was such a roller coaster. You could take 2 steps forwards but always know that you were balancing on that edge, that it could all just change just like that, and you could take 10 steps backwards. It was a scary, bumpy, emotional ride. It was.